Joining us, Alex Myers on Skype from Golf Digest, where he's the associate editor, and I don't go by a month without watching the website all the time and reading it in every dental office that I ever go in. Every month. Thank you. I didn't mean that as that was my attempt, Alex, at being humorous, which I fail at all the time. But I love Digest for reasons that nobody else on this set will. I love the pieces trying to tell me how to get better, and I love the pieces on new equipment. So those are my two lives to speak of. But we got the U.S. Open, and sure. I want to start with with Alex Myers. Who is going to have a better tournament? A guy who's finished second 14 or 15 times, or the guy who says, yeah, I can win this. I've won 3 of them. Are Phil or Tiger going to be in the hunt at Chambers Bay?
Well, I think Phil actually is going to be in the hunt. I think, he's obviously the sentimental choice, but I think in this case it's actually a logical choice. Having been runner-up at the past 2 majors, having been in the top 4 in 3 of his last 5 events, this is a course that demands a creative short game. It's generous off the tee, which we know Phil can be a little wild at times. So I think it actually sets up well for him. And he got off to a nice start. He's stumbled a bit late in his round, but he's got off to a solid start today. And, Tiger, we saw him yesterday at the range doing some funky drill. He looked like Craig Counsell trying to swing the bat. So he looks totally lost out there right now. I'd definitely put my money more on Phil than Tiger.
Now, you went right into Troy's wheelhouse when you started talking about Craig Counsell and the way he would swing the bat.
Yeah, I covered Counsell, and he's now the manager of the Brewers. When you look at Tiger, this was the first time I think you can get money on whether he makes the cut, like realistic odds. What does that say about Tiger? And because he's in the midst of this complete overhaul of his swing, where he's got bits from each coaches, it looks like, will he ever win another major? I mean, when will we know, I guess, is it realistic to think? Because the guy we see now is not a threat to win a major.
Yeah, well, to answer the second part first, it's so tough to judge with these guys because they have such long careers. So, he could go another 5 years without winning a major, and then all of a sudden something could click and he could win a couple. I mean, Jack Nicklaus, before he won that last major in '86, had a big drought as well. So it's just always tough to tell if a guy is totally done. But he is certainly lost his grasp over the golfing world, and I don't think he'll ever get that back. He's got just too many thoughts going through his head, and as you mentioned, some of the prop bets are just incredible. He's actually a slight underdog to make the cut. Yeah. So that's how little people are thinking of him. I'm almost even surprised we're talking about him this early in the segment. I mean, it seems like he's almost become an afterthought, and he's still the number 1 draw. But you have to wonder how much longer that can continue if he puts up these, weak results.
Alex, having covered golf so long, I think I would just say to you that no matter who was winning tournaments, Johnny Miller, Tom Watson, whatever, people still brought up Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus, and because they were in the public mind and vision for so long that Phil and Tiger, because of what they've done in the majors, what they've accomplished in their career, you started. I mean, I can start with Rory McIlroy, and I could start with the course. And having covered a number of British Opens, probably 15 or so, and 30 Masters or whatever, that this may be the most unusual U.S. Open I've ever seen, because people aren't comparing it to other U.S. courses. They're comparing it to British or the Open courses. Is that fair?
Yeah. Oh, totally fair. And I think fans maybe who weren't, keeping up with some of the preview stuff are turning it on today, and they're going to be really surprised by what they see. It does look like a British Open course. A lot of people are comparing it to Muirfield from a couple years ago, which is where Phil Mickelson did win his Open championship. But yeah, it's a firm fescue that's out there. It's a grass that doesn't grow in most of the U.S. You see it's very
except
brown.
In my backyard, it will grow.
Exactly. Except when you don't want it, right? But there's one tree on the entire property. It's not in play. It's by the water. There's going to be a lot of wind. You're going to see guys hitting a lot more lower shots, running the ball up on greens, putting from off the greens. Some of the fairways players are saying are running as fast as some of the greens. So the USGA has actually even had to mark to distinguish where some of the greens start from the fairway. So it is a truly unique test for the U.S. Open. Maybe not so much for the British, but for the U.S. Open for sure.
We're not going to have one of those situations where Dustin Johnson's standing in a sand trap and nobody knows he's in a sand trap.
I hope not. I hope that's why they're being extra careful with these markings.
I saw one of the players, a young player, the other day, bouncing his ball on the fairway. And I had never seen that in covering 75, 80 majors, that even in Scotland or Northern England, I've never seen anything like how are they going to allow those fair? Because over there, and you know this, Alex, the fairways can be faster than the greens in a lot of cases.
Exactly.
Is that what we're also going to be experiencing on this, at maybe 300 and 400 yard drives on a regular basis?
Oh, without a doubt. The players who are aggressive and find the fairway, I think we're already seeing that with Rory today on a couple drives. Some of the lines that he's taking off the tee, he's so aggressive. If you find the fairway, it's going to roll forever. I think we're going to see a number of 400-yard drives. Dustin Johnson is tearing it up right now. He was at 5 under last time I checked. Phil Mickelson a couple days ago said he only sees 3 holes out there where he's going to use driver. That hasn't been the case with him today. He's hit a lot of driver, and I think the players who do hit driver and find the fairway are going to have an advantage.
I thought that was one of the great statements of the week, not so much by Phil, but by anybody, that this is a return to actually being able to use a driver in the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
Guys didn't want to do that. They couldn't do it. Phil has played in tournaments where he wouldn't even put the driver in the bag.
That's right. And, it's an interesting course because it does play so fast. I think it does give the shorter hitters a chance. And I think it does allow you to not be as aggressive off the tee. But again, if those guys like Dustin Johnson and Rory McIlroy and even Phil Mickelson, the guys who do hit a long way, if they play aggressively and they're on their game with their driver, they have a huge advantage, no doubt about it. And there's one hole that's got a 100-yard wide landing area. I mean, certainly we've never seen anything like that in the U.S. Open. So it's a different type of test. I think Mike Davis and the USGA are more focused on making the players think, kind of throwing them off their game, changing pars on a couple of the holes, depending on the day, changing a lot of the tees. So it's really going to come down to even more strategy-wise than what we're used to seeing.
Associate editor of Golf Digest, my favorite golf magazine, Alex Myers, is on Skype with us, and this segment is sponsored by the Blake Street Tavern. 3 bars under one roof with 18, I try all 3 of them every time I go over there, with 18,000 square feet and 60 HD TVs. It's located just 1 block east from Coors Field, and it's been named Denver's best sports bar 3 years in a row by Westward, but by everybody else over and over again. And I wonder how you're approaching this course, and we have a photo behind us, and people look at it and they go, well, I wonder where in Scotland or Ireland that course is.
Alex, I love the fact that it makes the best golfers in the world uncomfortable, and it becomes the mind game. I mean, that's part of it that I think when you watch as a cursory golf fan, you like to see the human element involved, that they struggle, and it seems to me the ones who whine less and are less concerned about the comfort end up winning, and that's why I'm curious how this is going to play out these next 3+ days, because which players do you think mentally are equipped to not worry about the course and let the course win? Because that's clearly this tournament, the course is going to be the story all 4 days.
Right, I think you hit the nail on the head there. They're trying to get in the players' heads, but it's giving certain players an opportunity that if they are able to block out the changing pars, the changing tees, what have you, they are going to have an advantage. I think Phil Mickelson, again, comes to mind as one of those guys. He's seen it all. He's been through it all. He used to not be able to play this style of golf, but then he won the Open Championship on a similar type course. I think he knows, he turned 45 yesterday. I think he knows his window is closing to complete that career Grand Slam. I think he is super focused this week. I think he can do it. Jordan Spieth, of course, one of the great grinders out there, even though he's only 21 years old. I think he's mentally tough to hang in there. And so, those 2 guys definitely jump out. But definitely, again, this Mike Davis wants these guys to be challenged mentally as much as physically, and that's part of the reason why they went to this course, and that's part of the reason why it's going to be unlike anything we've seen before.
Alex, we really appreciate you joining us. Enjoy the week. We'll enjoy all the circumstances surrounding the tournament. How can people keep up with what you're doing during the course of the week, your Twitter handle, and where they can find you in golfdigest.com, I would think.
Sure, yeah, golfdigest.com. We've got a lot of stuff all week, and Alex Myers 3 on Twitter. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on. Enjoy the tournament.
Join us afterward. We'll talk about what happened after it's over. Hey, thank you, Alex.